tonight. Eviction ban reversal. The Biden administration extends the moratorium on evictions. This as millions of kids return to school, many for the first time since pandemic lockdowns began.
Decisions being made like not allowing mask mandates in school and the like are bad health policy.
Plus, rocket attacks launched from Lebanon into Israel. And in the wake of cyber attacks,
Cyber threats, including ransomware attacks, increasingly are able to cause damage and disruption in the real world.
a new warning over threats to the homeland. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Possible FDA approval for the Pfizer vaccine coming soon. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder. That's the word from the FDA tonight. Right now, the Pfizer vaccine is being administered under the emergency authorization order. But now the agency says it could fully approve Pfizer by early September. In the meantime, the fight over the eviction moratorium has come to an end, at least for now. The Biden administration announcing a new 60-day freeze on evictions in areas hit hardest by COVID-19. CBN News correspondent Brody Carter has our top story. Brody, President Biden was facing a lot of pressure from within his own party.
Well, Jenna, the most recent deadline passed this weekend, causing many Democrats to call out the Biden administration for failing to extend that protection. Initially, the White House said it didn't have that authority. Now, in a controversial show of executive power, the president is giving new protections well into October.
The president shares their desire, their commitment, and their interest in keeping renters and people in their homes. And that is exactly why he took the step of asking the CDC to look into what legal pathways forward there were.
But that resolution didn't come without much political wrangling and legal questions. Now, Monday, the Biden administration claimed its hands were tied because the Supreme Court ruled in June the CDC could not grant a fourth extension.
So we have asked for the White House and the CDC to work together, and we need an eviction moratorium.
Then came the political theater with Democrats like Cori Bush sleeping on the Capitol steps, demanding the government act swiftly to save lives.
It's our work as humans to end human suffering and then to fight against any place where we see the possible perpetuation of it.
All of this led the White House to claim a legal authority for this new and limited moratorium. Despite this move, billions of unspent dollars from the American Rescue Plan and Emergency Rental Assistance Program remains available. The state of Virginia, for one, doing its part to spend that cash, helping 223 million tenants and landlords in need. Still, the burden remains nationwide as billions of dollars remain undistributed. Well, at homeless shelters like Union Mission here in Norfolk, Virginia, it's close to full capacity. Now, even though the president initiated another 60 days hopeful to give protections to people set to lose their homes, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's smooth sailing from here.
You're more than your address. And so when someone's homeless, a profound impact has come upon that person or that family and the extended family.
With nearly 3.5 million evictions filed each year in non-pandemic years, Reverend John Gray with Union Mission knows all too well the toll homelessness has on the people they serve.
Saved my life is saving lives. I mean, what they do here is wonderful.
John Haley is currently trying to get out of this situation.
Yeah, I think it's like organizing in your head what you have to do, steps to get out of that situation, quieting your mind. Yeah, this is a great place to quiet your mind.
After living on the streets of Washington, D.C., John knows he's one of the lucky ones to get a helping, understanding millions of Americans will soon face the same fate. Now homeless shelters and ministries face the same 60-day deadline to prepare for a possible influx of people living on the streets.
I see God being a very gracious and kind God. Things could have been worse. Homelessness can be a mystery. And how do you do this work? You do it very relationally, person to person, one-on-one, with the Lord's help, of course.
Today, the administration emphasized in a press conference this is only a temporary fix, saying a long-term solution will require legislative action in the future. Jenna, back to you.
All right, Brody, thank you. And here with us now is Joel Griffith, Research Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Joel, thanks for joining us this evening. So a headline from the National Review today. President Biden announces on live TV that he intends to break his oath of office. The article essentially saying the president doesn't have the constitutional authority to extend this moratorium. Can you speak to that and the president's constitutional authority here?
Yes, both President Biden and the CDC director have violated their oaths of office, that oath that you take to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. This eviction moratorium by the Centers for Disease Control is unlawful and it's unconstitutional because the CDC does not have the power to impose such a moratorium. Congress never gave the CDC that power. The authorizing act for any CDC action is the Public Services Health Act, PHSA, Public Health Services Act, and nowhere in that act does it give the CDC that power. And the Biden administration has been on notice that they don't have this constitutional power because the Supreme Court actually indicated as much just a few weeks ago, but the administration chose to go forward with this unlawful, unconstitutional action.
Yeah, President Biden even acknowledging that in recent days. So you testified before the House in a hearing on the matter yesterday. You said the moratorium, this is a quote, allowed many who were neither impacted by COVID-19 nor experiencing financial hardship to live rent-free. Talk about that, Joel.
Oh, sure. Well, of course, there have been some people that have been impacted over the past year by these draconian government shutdowns and restrictions. And thankfully, Congress has allocated aid, actually set aside to help these families out. We've seen unemployment benefits over the past year. We have seen $40 billion worth of aid that Congress has authorized to go to those that are struggling to pay their rent. But this action itself, though, is unlawful. We know that, for instance, the number of people that were making late rental payments went up by a few percentage points during the peak of the crisis, but evictions were almost completely outlawed. And that by itself indicates that the vast majority of people that have benefited from not paying rent over the past year have actually been those that weren't impacted by COVID.
So what is the solution for people who, as you've mentioned, really have needed help during this and who have benefited from this moratorium? You know, surely it's not just to leave them out to dry.
Well, over this past year and a half, we have seen an incredible amount of aid given for those that were jobless and also for those that were having trouble making rental payments. In fact, the vast majority of people that ended up on unemployment benefits actually earned more on unemployment than they were earning on the job. And the numbers reflect that. The household savings rate increased to an all-time high. And the Census Bureau actually tracks the number of households that are reporting a loss of income. And only about 9% of families during the peak of the crisis are actually reporting a loss of income. So we saw a lot of government aid go to those that were struggling already. The fact is that the vast majority of people that took advantage of this entirety to not pay $1 worth of rent over 16 months, many of those did so, not because they were harmed, but because they chose not to actually pay their rent.
All right, Joel Griffith with the Heritage Foundation. We're out of time, but we appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, back to school season is officially underway with some students already back in the classroom and many following suit in the coming weeks. With the Delta variant surging across the country and case numbers spiking, a lot of parents are nervous. CBN News White House correspondent Eric Phillips is at the White House. Eric, the president doesn't seem too happy with some governors.
Well, Jenna, that's right. And the president is calling on governors to step up in the fight against coronavirus, noting that some states are banning mask mandates even for schools. That's despite the fact that those under 12 years old are unable to get the vaccine. And that has some parents very nervous.
First and foremost, I am scared.
Raquel Brown has rising 4th and 10th graders and a grandson starting kindergarten in Metro Richmond, Virginia. She has mixed feelings about them going back to in-person learning.
I feel like they will do better with their schoolwork being in person. But then no, because of COVID, Delta variant, and just not knowing what's going to happen next.
And we are seeing children getting sick with COVID-19. There are kids in ICUs right now in Louisiana that break your heart when you hear what they're going through.
We continue to recommend universal indoor masking in K-12 schools throughout the country so our children can safely get back to school and safely stay there.
For parents, I think there's somewhat of a divide.
Dr. Param Jabari is the Chief Deputy Commissioner of the Virginia Department of Health.
The CDC provides us the data. They've been telling us the Delta variant is more transmissible than its previous forms. And then it's up to local officials, at least here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, to decide whether they're going to have a policy for that.
I would like to see a mandate on the vaccinations. I think that's very important in the school setting.
That's not happened yet, and in fact, it appears some states are going in the other direction.
As of now, 7 states not only ban mask mandates, but also ban them in their school districts, even for young children who cannot get vaccinated. I say to these governors, please help. But if you aren't going to help, at least get out of the way.
And the president went on to say that in Texas, state universities and community colleges can be fined if teachers ask unvaccinated students to wear a mask. This as both Texas and Florida account for 1/3 of all new COVID cases in the country. And to quote CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, she said, quote, while we desperately want to be done with this pandemic, COVID-19 is clearly not done with us. Jenna?
Eric, I think a lot of question a lot of parents have is, will schools close down again?
Yeah, that's a question that I asked Dr. Jabari with the Virginia Department of Health, and he said that despite the fact that health officials are watching very closely this COVID trend, the fact that these numbers are growing, and despite the fact that they expect them to grow more and more over the coming months and weeks even, he stopped short of saying that schools would not reopen because of this come September, and some schools have already reopened, or that they would shut down again because of the growing numbers. However, I did note that he did not rule out anything.
So it's not only kids returning to school, Eric, adults also returning to the office, and that seems to be causing a lot of questions about vaccine mandates. Are a lot of companies making their employees get vaccinated?
The list is growing, Jenna. These are just a few. Facebook, Uber, Google, Netflix, Tyson Food, Delta Airlines, Walmart, United Airlines, Ford, and BlackRock. They're just some of the companies that are requiring all or some of their employees to be vaccinated. And let's not forget that the president has called for all federal employees to be vaccinated or submit to weekly testing. Certainly, this is a growing trend in both the public and private sectors.
All right, Eric Phillips at the White House. Great reporting. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks.
And coming up, rockets raining down in Israel. The latest attack on the Jewish state.
Having sex before you're married is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back. An exchange of rocket fire in Israel today. 3 missiles were fired into Israel from across the Lebanon border, 2 of them landing in Israeli territory. There have been no reports of deaths or injuries. The rocket fire led Israel's military to fight back, launching missiles of their own. Israeli officials say they think Palestinian groups in Lebanon are responsible for the attack, but don't believe Hezbollah was involved. And here now to discuss, Penny Nance, president of Concerned Women for America. Penny, welcome back. It's good to see you. So there are those who say Israel, some people say Israel should not fire back when facing rocket attacks. What's your thought on that?
I think if Israel and the IDF did not fire back, they would be wiped off the face of the earth. We know that extremists have very publicly said, and I know they say that Hezbollah may not be responsible for this latest attack from Lebanon, but, you know, who knows? There are others that are full-throated in their belief that Israel should be wiped off the map. Hezbollah, by the way, is backed by Iran. And you see factions surrounding that little country, which, by the way, is the size of the state of New Jersey. It's a very small nation. I have been so grateful to travel there 4 different times. I was there for the moving and the opening of the new embassy when President Trump moved it from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And before that, I was able to tour some of the bases. I was at a base in the northern part that actually was on the border of Lebanon, where these rocket attacks most recently came. I've also been in the south and seen all the damage there. But what I saw when I was in the north was very young IDF military personnel, men and women, whose job it was to watch, to look at a computer screen and determine in a few seconds what was flying over the border, whether it was an aircraft, whether it was a rocket, whether it was something else, and then to react. It's very, very difficult to live in Israel. They are constantly under assault in different ways. They have every right to that land. Anyone that's read Genesis knows that that's true. They deserve to be there. They've been murdered throughout the world as part of the Holocaust, and there must be a Jewish state. So I would urge the Biden administration to stand firm behind our closest ally in the Middle East, to link arms with Israel, to support the new Prime Minister Bennett, and for evangelical Christians and other Christians around this country to voice their support and to pray for Israel.
Penny, just a few seconds left here, but we see growing anti-Semitism in the United States and Europe and other places. What can be done, do you think, to fight anti-Semitism?
Well, Satan has no new tricks, doesn't he? So does he? This is the same old anti-Semitism and hate that's been directed at the Jewish people for centuries, of course. But I think the thing that has to be done is Christians and others must come to their side and come to their aid and stand very firmly against those who seek to hurt them. The boycott, divest, and sanctions movement, the BDS movement that thrives on college campuses around the country, the answer to that is for others to speak against it and for us to stand very firmly against it.
All right, Penny Nance, Concerned Women for America. It's great to have you with us this evening. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, Jenna.
Well, America at Risk. Up next, a new warning about cyber threats facing the U.S. government and what it could mean for you.
Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
The personal information of millions of Americans is at risk. That's according to a new report from the Senate Homeland Security Committee. It found several agencies tasked with securing sensitive data failed to implement basic defenses against cyber attacks. 8 agencies, including the State Department, Social Security Administration, and Department of Homeland Security, were evaluated, graded, and given so-called report cards, most of them getting C's and D's. Only DHS showed improvement over the last 2 years. Lawmakers say you can expect to see legislation introduced over the next year to address the vulnerabilities found in their report. Joining us now is Amy Myers-Jaffe, a cybersecurity expert and director of research at Tufts University and the author of a new book, Energy's Digital Future. Hi, Amy. It's good to see you. How did it get to this? It's shocking, I think, for a lot of people to hear that some of our most important agencies received near failing grades for implementing cybersecurity defenses.
I mean, we have not done what we need to do, and what the response is, I think we want to think about it a little bit like we did after September 11, in the sense that we need to consolidate. At that time we created the Department of Homeland Security. I almost wonder if we need a cabinet level cyber czar, right, who can coordinate all these agencies and make sure that there are standards being met across the U.S. government, and then standards being met in private industry. So you mentioned the Congress. There's over 16 bills now actively being considered in the Congress, one of which is to specifically secure the data of Americans. With concerns about, foreign actors, accessing or hacking American data.
Yeah. But, speaking of foreign adversaries, say China or Russia, if we did get a bad cyber attack from them, are we at all prepared to deal with that?
Well, I would say at the government level, we're probably somewhat prepared. I mean, hopefully the DOD and some agencies are prepared. But I think that one of the things that the Colonial Pipeline hack showed is that, private industry don't have proper resilience plans. So, part of being prepared for a cyber attack is not just, do I have the right encryption software protecting your data? It's also, what would I do if I discovered a data breach? What would I do if I'm a company and I realize that my safety system, my computerized safety system, or my data systems have been breached? And I think what we're finding is not enough companies have these resilience plans. If you think about how states recover from hurricanes and other kinds of disasters, they have these state plans. They know what the evacuation routes are. They know what they're going to do to shelter people. But we don't have that kind of planning that we need in cyber. And we need to be alert, and we need to be starting to put these kind of emergency plans in place so that we know exactly what we would do. We know what federal agency is going to take charge.
So there's a big focus on securing networks against cyber attacks, but is anyone looking into the equipment within our critical infrastructure, a lot of which comes from China? A cyber attack could present itself as an equipment malfunction.
Well, it could indeed. Now, in the Trump administration was on that. They tried to, there were some electrical equipment that was coming in from China that they felt could be easily compromised, and they actually confiscated that equipment instead of having it be installed. And so, you know, part of this is to ensure we know, you know, what hardware is going in, what software is going in, and how is it protected.
All right. Her book is Energy's Digital Future. Amy Myers Jaffe, thank you so much.
Thank you for
and
having me.
We'll be right back.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the Sleep Doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Finally tonight, an update to a story we brought you last night. Tonight, U.S. track star Sydney McLaughlin is an Olympic gold medalist, breaking the world record in the women's 400-meter hurdles. The 21-year-old New Jersey native finished less than a second before another Team USA runner to break the record and take home the gold for the first time. McLaughlin is an outspoken Christian. After her big win, she said it's all about trusting the process and giving glory to God. Congratulations to her. And I also saw in an interview on another network today, she is also a master juggler. So she's got a lot of skills and talent up her sleeve, and we just wish her well, and again, congratulations. All right, that does it for us tonight. Have a great evening.